I really tried my best, please watch the video until the end.
The scorching desert sand hits my heavy leather jacket. Living metal chains slide across my shoulders right now. I grip the heavy handlebars of my demonic chopper hard. Pure white fire replaces my human head in this wasteland. The extreme heat melts the solid ground beneath my boots. My apocalyptic engine craves fresh mana and mortal souls. I twist the throttle and hear a deafening sonic roar. The massive shockwave shatters the nearby glass ruins. System alert soul combustion protocol activated fully. I feel the raw kinetic energy surging through my spine. A gigantic shadow covers the barren landscape behind me. The earth trembles under the weight of a massive beast. A colossal sandworm erupts from the deep underground. Its skyscraper body blocks the dying sun in the sky. The monster dives toward my current position very fast. I release the heavy clutch and launch the bike forward. The rear tire digs into the dirt and leaves a fire trail. Blinding white flames shoot from the dark exhaust pipes. These fires consume raw magic instead of physical matter. The giant worm crashes into the empty space behind me. A massive dust cloud rises high into the ruined sky. I shift gears and push the dark machine to higher speeds. The world around me begins to blur and distort heavily. Reality bends under the sheer pressure of my velocity. System alert. Reality distortion field reaching maximum. The monstrous worm burrows through the sand with speed. It tracks the intense magical signature of my dark engine. I can feel the heavy vibrations through the metal frame. My living chains tighten around my leather jacket sleeves. I need more power to break the absolute sound barrier. The beast emerges again and opens its massive dark maw. Rows of sharp, rocky teeth spin like a giant, deadly drill. A powerful suction force pulls my heavy bike backward. I lean forward and press my blazing skull to the metal. My skeletal hands activate the special nitrous injection. Concentrated mortal souls flood into the hungry engine. The demonic pistons pump with terrifying kinetic force. A brilliant flash of white light blinds the entire zone. The sudden acceleration snaps my neck back very violently. System alert. Absolute sound barrier breached completely. A massive sonic boom shatters the surrounding rocky hills. The pure shockwave knocks the giant worm off its course. I steer the howling machine toward the steep canyon edge. The bottomless pit approaches my front tire very quickly. I do not touch the heavy brakes in this crucial moment. The dark motorcycle launches into the empty open air. Gravity tries to pull my heavy metal chassis downward. I channel pure soul energy into the spinning rear wheel. A solid ramp of white hellfire forms in the empty sky. The burning rubber grips the magical construct perfectly. I ride higher into the air above the massive sand beast. The angry worm lunges upward to swallow me whole now. Its gigantic open mouth fills my entire field of vision. I twist the throttle until the metal grip almost breaks. The engine roar completely destroys all ambient sounds. System alert. Maximum soul combustion output achieved. My bike transforms into a blazing bullet of white fire. I dive straight down into the dark throat of the beast. The intense heat instantly vaporizes the thick, rocky skin. I pierce through the thick outer armor without resistance. The internal magic core of the worm shatters into pieces. My white flames burn away its vital life force directly. I travel through the massive body in a single heartbeat. The sheer kinetic impact creates a massive internal wave. I burst out from the long tail of the dying sand monster. The dark motorcycle lands heavily on the solid desert rock. The suspension absorbs the massive shock of the heavy drop. I hit the brakes and slide sideways across the rough dirt. A colossal explosion of white energy erupts behind me. The giant worm expands and bursts from the absolute heat. Bright shockwaves vaporize the remaining falling debris. System alert, epic enemy destroyed and souls harvested. The white fire on my skull burns even brighter right now. My demonic engine idles with a deep and satisfying growl. The living chains on my jacket slowly return to rest mode. I look at the massive burning crater in the deep distance. The air smells like burnt ozone and destroyed magic cores. This wasteland holds no worthy challenges for my speed. I need to find stronger enemies with much richer souls. The dark dashboard glows with pure white magical runes. I check the current fuel levels in the spiritual gas tank. The harvested energy fills the deep reserves completely. My skeletal fingers tap the hot metal of the heavy tank. The metal surface radiates an extreme and deadly heat. I shift my weight on the comfortable dark leather seat. The next destination lies beyond the ruined city borders. I engage the first gear and prepare for another fast ride. The heavy rear tire spins and kicks up a massive dirt cloud. I leave the burning destruction far behind my fast wheels. The apocalyptic rider never stops moving in this dead world. System alert. New energetic signatures detected nearby. I steer the demonic chopper toward the glowing red horizon. The engine consumes the fresh souls and generates more power. My white skull leaves a bright trail of fire in the dark air. The desert wind tries to fight against my absolute velocity. I cut through the heavy atmosphere like a sharp steel blade. The reality distortion field bends the space around my bike. Distant mountains look like melted wax under this weird effect. I feel nothing but cold pragmatism in my empty dead chest. Emotions are useless baggage for a creature of pure speed. The dark asphalt of the old highway appears under my tires. I accelerate and feel the smooth surface increasing my pace. The white flames from the exhaust melt the road behind me. A pack of mutated desert hounds spots my approaching light. They run toward the highway with hungry and glowing red eyes. I do not slow down or change my current straight trajectory. The foolish beasts leap into the air to intercept my path. My heavy front wheel smashes into the first jumping hound. The extreme kinetic impact shatters its mutated bone armor. A bright flash of white fire vaporizes the entire creature. The remaining hounds scatter in pure terror and deep panic. System alert minor souls absorbed into the main engine. The tiny amount of energy barely registers on my dashboard. I need massive targets like the giant sandworm from before. The ruined city skyline slowly rises in the far distance now. Tall, broken skyscrapers look like dead mechanical fingers. Dark clouds of toxic smog cover the upper levels completely. I can sense thousands of corrupted souls hiding in the ruins. My demonic engine revs louder in anticipation of the feast. The living chains rattle against the metal frame of the bike. I prepare the soul combustion system for a massive overload. The white fire on my skull flares up to a blinding intensity. I cross the city limits and shatter the absolute silence here. The sonic boom shatters every remaining glass window nearby. My apocalyptic ride brings final judgment to this dead place. Mutated scavengers peek out from the dark alleyways in fear. The radiant heat from my engine forces them back into hiding. I cruise down the main avenue and scan for worthy opponents. The magical radar detects a massive energy spike underground. System alert boss-level entity located in the subway tunnels. I steer the heavy bike toward the broken subway entrance hole. The steep concrete stairs offer a perfect path for my descent. I do not use the brakes as I plunge into the absolute darkness. My blazing white skull illuminates the old abandoned station. The tires crush old human bones and rusted metal debris easily. A giant mutated spider blocks the main tunnel with thick webs. I twist the throttle and unleash a wave of pure white hellfire. The magical flames consume the sticky webs in a single second. The giant spider shrieks and tries to retreat into the shadows. I hit the nitrous button and launch the bike like a fast missile. The heavy front wheel smashes directly into its multiple eyes. The massive kinetic impact crushes the beast against the wall. System alert secondary target eliminated and souls harvested. I park the demonic chopper over the vaporized spider remains. The hunt for the ultimate prey continues in these dark depths. I dismount the heavy machine and step onto the broken platform. The leather boots make a loud crunching sound on the old tiles. My living chains detach from the bike and wrap around my arms. The white fire on my skull casts long, dark shadows on the walls. I walk deeper into the abandoned tunnels to find the main nest. The heavy leather boots crush the solid concrete floor. A thick, magical pressure drops the ambient temperature here. I need to locate the exact center of this dark anomaly. Toxic green mist floats just above the broken subway tracks. The living metal chains uncoil from my heavy jacket sleeves. This underground maze holds massive amounts of corrupted mana. System alert high-density magical field detected ahead now. I step over the rusted remains of an old passenger train. The white fire on my skull illuminates the dark metal walls. Pure thermal radiation melts the frozen moisture in the air. Several large shadows move across the arched ceiling above me. A swarm of mutated centipedes drops from the high darkness. Their heavy armored bodies crash onto the broken stone tiles. I swing my right arm and launch the heavy steel chain forward. The heated metal links smash through the thick insect armor. A massive kinetic shockwave throws the dead creatures backward. System alert, minor soul fragments absorbed successfully right now. The dark tunnel suddenly opens into a massive cavernous space. A colossal humanoid figure sits on a throne of crushed cars. The underground king opens its 6 glowing red optical sensors. I send a silent mental command to my parked demonic vehicle. The distant roar of my heavy engine echoes down the tunnel. The underground king stands up and raises a giant steel club. It swings the massive weapon directly toward my blazing skull. I step back and let the heavy club smash the ground before me. The pure kinetic impact shatters the solid concrete foundation. My apocalyptic chopper bursts through the thick concrete wall. The white exhaust flames illuminate the entire dark cavern now. I leap through the dusty air and land on the leather saddle. The living chains instantly lock my body to the dark machine. I twist the throttle and unleash a deafening sonic shockwave. System alert, combat mode engaged and engine fully unlocked. The heavy rear tire spins and digs into the broken stone floor. I drive the roaring machine straight up the curved cavern wall. Gravity loses its grip on my heavy demonic metal chassis now. The giant boss turns its massive head to track my fast movement. It fires a barrage of energy blasts from its mechanical eyes. I shift gears and accelerate along the vertical stone surface. The red lasers strike the empty space right behind my back tire. My extreme velocity makes me completely invisible to its sensors. I feel the raw kinetic power flowing through my dead spine again. System alert, reality bending effect reaching critical levels. I launch the heavy bike from the high ceiling directly downward. The white flames form a solid drilling cone around my front tire. The massive underground king raises its steel club to block me. My blazing motorcycle smashes into the thick metallic weapon. The sheer kinetic force shatters the giant club into tiny pieces. The front wheel strikes the central chest plate of the huge boss. Intense white heat melts the heavy armor plating instantly. I drive the roaring bike straight through its mechanical torso. The internal power core overloads from my absolute magical heat. I burst out from the massive back of the falling metallic giant. A colossal explosion of white energy destroys the entire boss. The bright shockwave vaporizes the remaining mechanical debris. System alert, major boss entity eliminated and soul harvested. The massive influx of raw mana fills my spiritual gas tank fully. My blazing skull burns with a much higher intensity than before. I look at the massive burning crater left by my kinetic strike. I need to return to the surface and find much stronger targets. The heavy front tire points toward the long ascending exit ramp. I twist the throttle and launch the bike up the steep concrete. My white flames leave a bright trail of pure destruction behind. The surface world approaches my vision with extreme rapid speed. I burst out of the broken subway entrance into the toxic air. The dark motorcycle lands heavily on the ruined asphalt street. System alert, surface environment scan completed successfully now. Thick gray clouds block the dying sun from reaching the ground. I check the glowing runes on my dark metallic dashboard display. The soul combustion system operates at maximum peak efficiency. A massive energy signature appears on the far edge of the ruins. I engage the heavy gears and prepare for another violent launch. The living chains tighten around my leather jacket once again. My skeletal fingers grip the clutch with extreme physical force. I release the lever and the dark machine shoots forward instantly. White hellfire erupts from the twin exhaust pipes with a bang. The heavy tires melt the broken asphalt into liquid black tar. I navigate the ruined city streets with absolute perfect precision. The reality distortion field bends the tall buildings around me. System alert. Approaching the absolute sound barrier threshold. I press the nitrous button to inject more souls into the engine. The demonic pistons pump with an unstoppable and terrifying power. A massive sonic boom shatters the glass of every nearby skyscraper. I spot a gigantic flying fortress hovering above the dead city. Massive steel propellers keep the heavy structure in the dark sky. I decide to bring this arrogant floating target down to the earth. The heavy bike needs a proper ramp to reach that extreme altitude. I steer the roaring chopper toward a fallen commercial airplane. The broken wing forms a perfect incline pointing up to the clouds. I do not touch the brakes as I approach the makeshift metal ramp. The front tire hits the slanted wing with massive kinetic impact. My heavy motorcycle launches into the empty air like a fast bullet. I channel raw soul energy into the spinning back wheel instantly. A solid path of white fire materializes in the empty sky ahead. I ride higher into the toxic atmosphere toward the huge fortress. The flying citadel detects my approach and deploys heavy weapons. Hundreds of automated turrets aim their long barrels at my skull. A massive barrage of glowing energy projectiles fills the dark sky. I shift my weight and steer the bike through the deadly crossfire. The energy blasts explode harmlessly against my reality distortion. I reach the outer steel hull of the massive floating structure now. The white flames from my front wheel melt the thick armor plating. I drive the heavy motorcycle straight into the dark interior space. Mechanical guards try to block my path in the narrow steel hallway. I do not slow down to fight these weak and pathetic soldiers. The heavy front tire crushes their metallic bodies into flat scrap. A bright flash of white fire vaporizes their internal power cores. System alert. Multiple minor targets destroyed without any effort. My magical radar points directly toward the central engine room. I twist the throttle and smash through the heavy barricade easily. A gigantic glowing mana reactor powers this entire flying machine. A heavily armored commander stands in front of the giant reactor. I hit the nitrous button and unleash the full power of my engine. The dark motorcycle transforms into a blazing spear of white light. I strike the glowing shield with unstoppable kinetic force now. The defensive barrier shatters into a million tiny magical pieces. My heavy front wheel crushes the armored commander against the wall. The intense white heat vaporizes his entire body in a single flash. System alert commander entity eliminated and energy fully absorbed. I park the roaring chopper right next to the massive mana reactor. The living chains detach from my arms and strike the glowing core. My demonic engine begins to siphon the raw power from the machine. The white fire on my skull burns with an absolutely blinding light. The giant flying fortress starts to lose its altitude very quickly. I drain the last drop of corrupted mana from the central core. System alert maximum energy capacity reached in the main engine. I mount the heavy bike and prepare to escape the falling structure. I twist the throttle and ride straight up the vertical steel wall. My heavy tires melt through the thick ceiling of the engine room. I burst out onto the top deck of the plummeting flying fortress. The ruined city ground approaches rapidly in my dark, empty vision. I do not fear the massive drop or the absolute kinetic impact here. I launch the demonic motorcycle off the edge of the falling ship. The giant metal structure crashes into the dead city far below me. A colossal explosion of pure fire destroys multiple city blocks. I land my heavy bike on a distant skyscraper roof very smoothly. The heat from the explosion warms my cold and dead skeletal frame. This dead world still offers plenty of fuel for my endless journey. I rev the dark engine and look toward the distant Black Mountains. My apocalyptic ride will never stop until every single soul is mine. The cold wind howls across the empty concrete skyscraper roof. I grip the heavy handlebars and rev the demonic engine loud. The dark mountains hide massive amounts of raw, corrupted mana. I steer the heavy bike toward the absolute edge of the roof. The front wheel drops into the dark abyss of the ruined city. Gravity pulls my heavy metal chassis down with extreme force. I channel pure soul energy into the spinning rear tire now. A solid ramp of white hellfire forms in the empty night sky. The burning rubber grips the magical construct perfectly well. I ride down the blazing path toward the dead wasteland below. The reality distortion field bends the ruined buildings around. System alert atmospheric friction reaching maximum safe levels. I hit the broken asphalt and shatter the solid ground easily. The heavy suspension absorbs the massive kinetic impact fully. I twist the throttle and launch the dark machine forward fast. A massive dust cloud rises behind my spinning back wheel now. The distant Black Mountains grow larger in my empty vision. I feel the cold pragmatism driving my endless, violent journey. Emotions offer no tactical advantage in this dead, barren world. The magical radar detects a massive moving target straight ahead. System alert colossal mechanical entity detected in the sector. I push the heavy engine past its normal operational limits. Blinding white flames shoot from the dark exhaust pipes again. The sudden acceleration snaps my skeletal neck back violently. A massive sonic boom shatters the surrounding rocky landscape. The pure shockwave clears the heavy toxic smog from my path. A gigantic armored train crosses the dead desert ahead of me. Thick black smoke pours from its massive demonic locomotives. The heavy steel wheels crush the solid rock tracks completely. I steer the howling machine toward the moving steel fortress. Hundreds of automated turrets track my fast approach instantly. Glowing energy projectiles fill the dark sky above the desert. I shift my weight and dodge the deadly magical crossfire now. The red lasers explode harmlessly against my distortion field. I need more speed to breach the thick exterior armor plating. My skeletal fingers activate the special nitrous injection port. Concentrated mortal souls flood into the hungry dark engine. The demonic pistons pump with terrifying raw kinetic energy. A brilliant flash of white light blinds the entire dead zone. System alert, absolute sound barrier breached successfully now. My bike transforms into a blazing bullet of pure white fire. I strike the heavy side armor of the last train car heavily. The intense heat instantly vaporizes the thick steel plating. I pierce through the thick outer shell without any resistance. The sheer kinetic impact creates a massive internal shockwave. Heavy metal crates shatter into thousands of tiny sharp pieces. The heavy front wheel crushes the internal security droids. Bright shockwaves vaporize the remaining mechanical debris. I park the demonic chopper inside the massive cargo carriage. The living chains detach from my arms and scan the dark room. The white fire on my skull casts long shadows on the metal. I draw my heavy steel chain to clear the path moving forward. System alert. Multiple hostile targets approaching your location. The heavy metal doors burst open with extreme kinetic force. A squad of heavily armored mutant soldiers enters the carriage. They raise their energy rifles and fire a massive barrage. I step forward and swing the heated metal chain very fast. The glowing links smash through their thick combat armor easily. A massive kinetic shockwave throws the dead bodies backward. Pure white fire burns away their corrupted life force directly. System alert. Minor soul fragments absorbed into the reserves. The tiny amount of energy barely registers on my dark display. I walk through the burning carriage toward the next steel door. The heavy leather boots make a loud sound on the metal floor. I kick the locked door with absolute brutal physical strength. The thick steel bends and flies off its heavy metal hinges. The next car holds a massive glowing magical power reactor. A giant mechanical guardian stands in front of the energy core. The huge beast raises a heavy plasma axe to block my advance. I send a silent mental command to my parked demonic vehicle. The distant roar of my heavy engine echoes through the train. My apocalyptic chopper bursts through the broken metal wall. I leap through the air and land on the dark leather saddle. The living chains instantly lock my body to the heavy machine. I twist the throttle and unleash a deafening sonic shockwave. The heavy rear tire spins and digs into the solid steel floor. I drive the roaring machine straight toward the huge guardian. It swings the massive plasma axe directly at my blazing skull. I shift gears and slide the heavy bike under the deadly weapon. The front wheel strikes the central chest plate of the boss. Intense white heat melts the heavy armor plating instantly. I drive the roaring bike straight through its mechanical torso. The internal power core overloads from my absolute total heat. A colossal explosion of white energy destroys the entire boss. System alert, secondary target eliminated and soul harvested. I park the roaring chopper right next to the massive reactor. The living chains strike the glowing core with extreme force. My demonic engine begins to siphon the raw power completely. The white fire on my skull burns with a blinding, intense light. The giant armored train starts to lose its speed very quickly. I drain the last drop of corrupted mana from the central core. System alert. Maximum energy capacity reached in the engine. I mount the heavy bike and prepare to exit the dying machine. I twist the throttle and ride straight through the side wall. The heavy tires melt the thick steel exterior without effort. I burst out into the open desert air with extreme rapid speed. The dark motorcycle lands heavily on the solid rocky ground. The massive train derails and crashes into the deep canyon. A colossal explosion of pure fire destroys the entire convoy. The heat from the explosion warms my cold, dead skeletal frame. I check the glowing runes on my dark metallic dashboard now. The soul combustion system operates at maximum peak output. The black mountains loom closer in my empty field of vision. The jagged peaks look like broken teeth against the dark sky. A massive tear in reality pulses above the highest dark peak. System alert dimensional anomaly detected at the summit now. Raw magical energy leaks from the purple crack in the sky. I engage the heavy gears and prepare for a massive climb up. The living chains tighten around my leather jacket once more. I release the heavy clutch and launch the bike forward fast. White hellfire erupts from the twin exhaust pipes instantly. The heavy tires melt the frozen mountain rocks into hot lava. I navigate the steep vertical slope with absolute precision. The reality distortion field bends the solid mountain around. Gravity tries to pull my heavy metal chassis downward again. I channel pure soul energy into the spinning rear wheel now. A solid path of white fire materializes on the dark stone. I ride higher into the toxic atmosphere toward the anomaly. Giant flying demons emerge from the glowing purple portal. Their massive leathery wings create powerful wind currents. They dive toward my current position with extreme high speed. I do not touch the heavy brakes in this crucial combat moment. The dark motorcycle launches off a broken stone cliff edge. I strike the first flying demon with absolute kinetic force. The heavy front wheel crushes its dark skull into tiny pieces. A bright flash of white fire vaporizes the entire creature. The remaining beasts scatter in pure terror and deep panic. I swing my heavy steel chain and catch a fleeing demon fast. The heated metal links slice through its thick demonic armor. Pure white hellfire consumes its corrupted body in 1 second. System alert demonic entities destroyed and souls harvested. The massive portal pulls my heavy bike into the unknown void. I twist the throttle and embrace the absolute infinite speed. The engine roar completely destroys all ambient sounds here. My white skull leaves a bright trail of fire in the dark void. The apocalyptic rider brings endless destruction everywhere. I will consume every single soul in this new dark dimension. The purple energy field tries to crush my heavy metal frame. I channel my raw magical heat to push the dark pressure away. A massive floating island appears in the center of the void. The heavy dark motorcycle lands on the alien stone surface. A massive kinetic shockwave shatters the solid purple ground. I scan the strange floating island with my optical sensors. Thick dark fog covers the jagged alien crystalline landscape. The white fire on my skull burns away the toxic purple mist. I twist the heavy throttle and drive the machine forward now. The massive engine roar echoes across the empty void space. System alert high-density void energy detected straight ahead. I feel the raw magical pressure pushing against my chassis. The reality distortion field neutralizes the heavy gravity here. A tall fortress of black glass rises in the far distance. I shift the heavy gears and accelerate toward the structure. The dark wheels crush the fragile crystal ground into dust. My skeletal fingers grip the leather handles with raw force. Several glowing humanoid figures emerge from the dark fog. They carry heavy energy spears made of pure purple light. The Void Knights form a solid defensive wall across my path. I do not touch the heavy brakes in this fast combat scenario. I channel raw corrupted mana into the spinning front tire. A massive cone of white fire erupts from the heavy metal. The heavy bike smashes into the center of the enemy line. Pure kinetic force shatters their glowing energy shields completely. Intense white heat vaporizes their solid magical armor now. I drive the roaring machine straight through their bodies. A brilliant flash of white light destroys the Void Knights. System alert. Multiple void entities eliminated successfully right now. The dark engine absorbs their scattered magical fragments fully. I feel the cold pragmatism driving my endless violent hunt. This strange dimension holds massive amounts of raw power. The dark glass fortress grows larger in my empty vision now. Giant defensive towers track my fast approach automatically now. Hundreds of purple energy beams shoot from the high walls. I shift my body weight and steer the bike through the fire. The deadly lasers explode against my reality distortion field. I need absolute maximum speed to breach the heavy main gate. My skeletal left hand activates the special nitrous button. Concentrated mortal souls flood the hungry demonic engine fully. The heavy metal pistons pump with terrifying kinetic energy. A massive sonic boom shatters the surrounding crystal ground. System alert. Absolute sound barrier breached successfully right now. The dark motorcycle transforms into a blazing white spear. I strike the heavy glass gate with absolute physical force. The sheer kinetic impact creates a massive internal shockwave. The thick black glass shatters into a million tiny pieces. I pierce through the thick outer shell without any resistance. The heavy front wheel crushes the internal security droids. Bright shockwaves vaporize the remaining mechanical debris completely. I park the demonic chopper inside the massive central hall. The living chains detach from my arms and scan the dark room. The white fire on my skull casts long shadows on the floor. I draw my heavy steel chain to clear the path moving forward. System alert. Massive hostile target approaching your exact location. The heavy metal floor shakes with extreme kinetic vibrations. A gigantic void dragon descends from the high dark ceiling. Its massive wings create powerful and dangerous wind currents. The huge beast opens its glowing purple jaws to attack me. A massive beam of pure void energy strikes my current spot. I step back and let the heavy blast smash the solid ground. The pure kinetic impact shatters the solid glass foundation. I send a silent mental command to my parked demonic vehicle. The distant roar of my heavy engine echoes across the hall. My apocalyptic chopper bursts through the thick smoke cloud. I leap through the dusty air and land on the leather saddle. The living chains instantly lock my body to the dark machine. I twist the throttle and unleash a deafening sonic shockwave. The heavy rear tire spins and digs into the broken floor. I drive the roaring machine straight up the tall glass wall. Gravity loses its grip on my heavy demonic metal chassis now. The giant boss turns its massive head to track my movement. It fires a barrage of energy blasts from its glowing eyes. I shift gears and accelerate along the vertical glass surface. The purple lasers strike the empty space right behind my tire. My extreme velocity makes me completely invisible to its sight. I feel the raw kinetic power flowing through my dead spine. System alert reality bending effect, reaching critical levels now. I launch the heavy bike from the high ceiling directly down. The white flames form a solid drilling cone around my tire. The massive void dragon raises its heavy wings to block me. My blazing motorcycle smashes into the thick magical barrier. The sheer kinetic force shatters the giant shield into dust. The front wheel strikes the central chest plate of the beast. Intense white heat melts the heavy organic armor instantly. I drive the roaring bike straight through its massive torso. The internal power core overloads from my absolute total heat. I burst out from the massive back of the falling void giant. A colossal explosion of white energy destroys the entire boss. The bright shockwave vaporizes the remaining magical debris fully. System alert, major boss entity eliminated and soul harvested. The massive influx of raw mana fills my spiritual gas tank. My blazing skull burns with a much higher intensity than ever. I look at the massive burning crater left by my kinetic strike. I need to find the central power core of this dark fortress. The heavy front tire points toward the long ascending ramp. I twist the throttle and launch the bike up the steep glass. My white flames leave a bright trail of pure destruction now. The upper levels approach my vision with extreme rapid speed. I burst out of the broken glass ceiling into the throne room. The dark motorcycle lands heavily on the solid floating floor. System alert, maximum energy signature detected in this room. A gigantic glowing void reactor powers this entire dimension. A heavily armored Void King stands in front of the giant core. He raises a massive dark sword forged from pure corrupted mana. I hit the nitrous button and unleash the full engine power. The dark motorcycle transforms into a blazing spear of light. I strike the glowing dark blade with unstoppable kinetic force. The magical weapon shatters into a million tiny broken pieces. My heavy front wheel crushes the armored king against the wall. The intense white heat vaporizes his entire body in one flash. System alert, king entity eliminated and energy fully absorbed. I park the roaring chopper right next to the massive reactor. The living chains detach from my arms and strike the core now. My demonic engine begins to siphon the raw power from the void. The white fire on my skull burns with an absolute blind light. The giant floating island starts to lose its altitude quickly. I drain the last drop of corrupted mana from the central core. System alert, maximum energy capacity reached in the main engine. I mount the heavy bike and prepare to escape the falling rock. I twist the throttle and ride straight up the vertical wall. My heavy tires melt through the thick ceiling of the dark room. I burst out onto the top roof of the plummeting glass fortress. The endless dark void surrounds my heavy metal chassis entirely. I do not fear the massive drop or the absolute kinetic impact. I launch the demonic motorcycle off the edge of the high roof. The giant glass structure crashes into the dark abyss far below. A colossal explosion of pure void energy destroys the island. I channel pure soul energy into the spinning rear tire now. A solid path of white fire materializes in the empty dark space. I ride higher into the toxic atmosphere toward a new portal. The purple energy field tries to block my heavy metal machine. I channel my raw magical heat to push the dark pressure away. System alert dimensional breach sequence initiated successfully right now. The heavy front wheel pierces the fabric of the dark reality. I cross the spatial boundary with absolute extreme rapid speed. The dark motorcycle lands heavily on a solid metallic surface. A massive industrial complex stretches across my entire vision. Giant smokestacks pump thick black pollution into the dead sky. I check the glowing runes on my dark metallic dashboard display. The soul combustion system operates at maximum peak efficiency. A massive energy signature appears on the far edge of the base. I engage the heavy gears and prepare for another violent launch. The living chains tighten around my leather jacket once again. My skeletal fingers grip the clutch with extreme physical force. I release the lever and the dark machine shoots forward fast. White hellfire erupts from the twin exhaust pipes with a bang. The heavy tires melt the thick steel floor into liquid metal. The massive steel structures blur past my empty vision now. I steer the heavy motorcycle through the toxic black smoke. The absolute speed creates a massive vacuum in my wake. System alert. Multiple heavy defense turrets locking on target. Glowing red targeting lasers paint my leather jacket entirely. I shift my weight and lean the heavy bike sideways fast. A massive barrage of plasma fire misses my flaming skull. The pure heat from the blasts melts the solid steel floor. I need to eliminate these automated defenses very quickly now. My skeletal fingers squeeze the heavy front brake lever hard. The dark machine slides sideways across the rough metal ground. A massive wave of white hellfire erupts from the rear tire. The thermal shockwave hits the tall defense towers directly. Thick steel armor plates melt like soft wax in 1 second. The ammunition reserves detonate with extreme kinetic force. A chain reaction destroys the outer security perimeter easily. System alert perimeter defenses neutralized and path cleared. I release the brake and launch the heavy bike forward again. Cold pragmatism drives my endless violent journey forward now. This industrial complex harvests pure corrupted magical energy. I feel the raw souls screaming inside the dark metal pipes. My demonic engine hungers for that massive raw power source. I drive the roaring machine straight toward the central factory. Giant mechanical spiders drop from the high ceiling above. They land on the metal floor with absolute heavy impacts. The huge machines raise their sharp steel legs to strike me. I do not touch the heavy brakes in this combat scenario. I channel pure corrupted mana into my spinning front wheel. The dark motorcycle transforms into a blazing white kinetic spear. I strike the first mechanical spider with absolute physical force. The front tire crushes its central processing core instantly. White heat vaporizes its thick outer armor plating completely. I drive the roaring machine straight through its massive body. A brilliant flash of white light destroys the robotic enemy. The remaining spiders fire heavy electric nets at my position. I swing my heavy steel chain and catch the incoming nets. The heated metal links melt the electric traps into pure ash. I throw the blazing chain toward the closest enemy target now. The heavy weapon wraps around its massive metal leg tightly. I twist the throttle and pull the giant machine forward fast. The sheer kinetic force rips the heavy leg from its socket. The unbalanced spider crashes heavily into the solid steel wall. A massive explosion of pure white fire destroys the entire unit. System alert mechanical entities eliminated and area secured. The dark engine absorbs the scattered magical fragments fully. I navigate the heavy bike through the burning metallic debris. The central factory doors loom massive in my empty vision. Thick steel barricades block the main entrance to the facility. I need absolute maximum speed to breach the heavy main gate. My skeletal hand activates the special nitrous injection port. Concentrated mortal souls flood the hungry dark engine fully. The heavy metal pistons pump with terrifying raw kinetic energy. A massive sonic boom shatters the surrounding steel structures. System alert. Absolute sound barrier breached successfully now. The dark motorcycle becomes a blazing bullet of white fire. I strike the heavy barricades with unstoppable physical force. The sheer kinetic impact creates a massive internal shockwave. The thick metal gates shatter into a million tiny pieces. I pierce through the thick outer shell without any resistance. The heavy front wheel crushes the internal security droids. Bright shockwaves vaporize the remaining mechanical debris completely. I park the demonic chopper inside the massive processing hall. The living chains detach from my arms and scan the room. The white fire on my skull casts long shadows everywhere. Giant glass tubes pump glowing green souls into a central core. The massive scale of this dark operation offends my cold logic. I draw my heavy steel chain to clear the path forward. System alert. Massive hostile entity detected near the core. The heavy metal floor shakes with extreme kinetic vibrations now. A gigantic cyborg overseer steps out from the dark shadows. Half of its massive body consists of heavy industrial machinery. The huge beast raises a heavy hydraulic hammer to crush me. I send a silent mental command to my parked demonic vehicle. The distant roar of my heavy engine echoes across the hall. My apocalyptic chopper bursts through the thick smoke cloud fast. I leap through the dusty air and land on the leather saddle. The living chains instantly lock my body to the dark machine. I twist the throttle and unleash a deafening sonic shockwave. The heavy rear tire spins and digs into the broken floor. I drive the roaring machine straight toward the giant cyborg. It swings the heavy hydraulic hammer directly at my skull. I shift gears and slide the heavy bike under the weapon. The heavy hammer smashes the solid steel floor into pieces. A massive kinetic shockwave throws heavy debris into the air. The front wheel strikes the central chest plate of the boss. Intense white heat melts the heavy industrial armor instantly. I drive the roaring bike straight up its massive metallic torso. Gravity loses its grip on my heavy demonic metal chassis now. The giant boss tries to grab my fast machine with its hands. I channel raw magical heat to push the dark metal away. My blazing tires burn deep tracks into its metal shoulders. I launch the heavy bike from its head directly toward the core. The internal power systems of the cyborg overload from the heat. A colossal explosion of white energy destroys the entire boss. System alert. Overseer entity eliminated and soul harvested. The bright shockwave vaporizes the remaining magical debris. I land the dark motorcycle heavily on the central core platform. The massive green reactor pulses with raw, corrupted power. Millions of trapped souls scream silently inside the thick glass. I park the roaring chopper right next to the massive reactor. The living chains detach from my arms and strike the core. My demonic engine begins to siphon the raw power from the tank. The white fire on my skull burns with an absolute blind light. The green energy flows rapidly into my dark fuel reserves. The entire industrial complex starts to lose its power fast. I drain the last drop of corrupted mana from the central core. System alert, maximum energy capacity reached in the main engine. I mount the heavy bike and prepare to escape the dying factory. The empty glass tubes shatter from the sudden pressure drop. I twist the throttle and ride straight up the vertical wall. My heavy tires melt through the thick ceiling of the dark room. I burst out onto the top roof of the massive steel structure. The toxic black sky surrounds my heavy metal chassis entirely. A massive self-destruction sequence begins inside the base. Warning sirens wail loudly across the dead industrial zone. I do not fear the massive explosion or the kinetic impact. I launch the demonic motorcycle off the edge of the high roof. The giant steel factory collapses into a massive burning crater. A colossal explosion of pure green energy destroys the base. The intense heat from the blast warms my dead skeletal frame. I channel pure soul energy into the spinning rear tire now. A solid path of white fire materializes in the empty toxic air. I ride higher into the dark atmosphere toward the new portal. The reality distortion field bends the thick black smoke away. System alert, dimensional anomaly detected in the atmosphere. A massive tear in reality pulses above the ruined dead city. Raw magical energy leaks from the bright red crack in the sky. I engage the heavy gears and prepare for a steep vertical climb. The living chains tighten around my leather jacket once more. I release the heavy clutch and launch the bike forward fast. White hellfire erupts from the twin exhaust pipes instantly. The heavy tires grip the magical construct with pure perfection. I navigate the steep vertical slope with absolute precision. Giant flying drones emerge from the glowing red portal ahead. Their heavy steel wings create powerful, dangerous wind currents. They dive toward my current position with extreme rapid speed. I do not touch the heavy brakes in this aerial combat moment. The dark motorcycle launches off a broken floating steel plate. I strike the first flying drone with absolute kinetic force. The heavy front wheel crushes its central processing unit easily. A bright flash of white fire vaporizes the entire creature. The remaining drones scatter in pure terror and deep panic. I swing my heavy steel chain and catch a fleeing enemy fast. The heated metal links slice through its thick titanium armor. Pure white hellfire consumes its artificial body in 1 second. System alert, mechanical entities destroyed and energy harvested. The massive red portal pulls my heavy bike into the dark void. I twist the throttle and embrace the absolute infinite speed. The dark motorcycle exits the red portal with extreme velocity. I land heavily on an endless ocean of yellow burning sand. A massive kinetic shockwave blows the golden dust far away. 2 giant artificial suns bake this dead barren wasteland now. The intense ambient heat tries to melt my leather jacket. My blazing white skull easily overpowers the external temperature. The reality distortion field stabilizes my heavy metal chassis. I scan the empty horizon for any massive energy signatures. The living chains slide across my shoulders with cold precision. This strange desert dimension holds massive amounts of raw power. System alert, hostile environment detected in the current zone. I twist the heavy throttle and drive the machine forward. The massive rear tire digs deep into the shifting yellow sand. A massive rooster tail of molten glass erupts behind my wheel. The intense white hellfire turns the soft sand into solid rock. I ride across the massive dunes with absolute perfect balance. The heavy demonic engine roars loud enough to shatter stones. I feel the raw kinetic power flowing through my dead spine. Several large crystal formations emerge from the deep golden sand. Giant mechanical scorpions hide beneath the sharp rocky structures. They sense the heavy vibrations of my massive dark engine now. The huge beasts erupt from the ground to block my fast path. Their heavy steel claws snap with extreme physical force today. I do not touch the heavy brakes in this fast combat scenario. I channel raw, corrupted mana into the spinning front tire. A massive cone of white fire erupts from the heavy metal. The heavy bike smashes into the center of the enemy line. Pure kinetic force shatters their thick crystal armor completely. Intense white heat vaporizes their solid mechanical bodies now. I drive the roaring machine straight through their broken shells. A brilliant flash of white light destroys the desert scorpions. System alert. Multiple hostile entities eliminated successfully now. The dark engine absorbs their scattered magical fragments fully. I navigate the heavy bike through the burning metallic debris. The endless yellow desert stretches out before my empty vision. Cold pragmatism drives my endless violent journey forward now. A strange, deep vibration begins to shake the entire wasteland. The solid glass track behind me shatters into a million pieces. I feel a massive pressure building deep beneath the sandy surface. System alert. Colossal biological entity detected right below you. I shift my body weight and steer the heavy bike sideways fast. A massive sinkhole opens exactly where I rode 1 second ago. Millions of tons of yellow sand pour into the dark, empty abyss. A gigantic desert worm erupts from the deep underground crater. The massive beast easily rivals a towering steel city skyscraper. Thick segmented armor plates cover its endless cylindrical body. A colossal mouth opens to reveal thousands of sharp, long teeth. The monster lets out a deafening roar that shatters the dry air. My audio sensors automatically dampen the extreme acoustic shock. The giant worm dives back into the sand to hunt my dark machine. A massive wave of displaced earth rushes toward my current spot. I twist the heavy throttle and unleash the full engine power. The heavy rear tire spins and digs into the shifting ground. I launch the roaring motorcycle forward with absolute raw force. The colossal sandworm breaches the surface right behind my tire. Its massive jaws snap shut inches away from my exhaust pipes. The sheer physical displacement creates a dangerous wind current. I lean forward and merge my dead body with the demonic chassis. The living chains lock my leather jacket to the solid dark metal. System alert. Extreme hostile pursuit velocity registered right now. The giant beast swims through the solid desert like liquid water. It destroys massive crystal mountains without slowing down at all. I need absolute maximum speed to survive this violent encounter. The heavy machine must transcend normal physical limitations now. My skeletal left hand moves toward the special nitrous button. I press the glowing switch with extreme raw physical force. Concentrated mortal souls flood the hungry demonic engine fully. The heavy metal pistons pump with terrifying raw kinetic energy. A massive sonic boom shatters the surrounding yellow landscape. System alert. Absolute sound barrier breached successfully now. The dark motorcycle becomes a blazing spear of pure white light. Extreme reality distortion completely warps the space around me. The colossal worm opens its massive mouth to consume my machine. A giant vortex of dark energy forms inside its deep throat. The intense gravity tries to drag my heavy bike backwards now. I channel pure soul energy directly into the spinning rear tire. A solid, invisible ramp of pure hellfire materializes in the air. I pull the heavy handlebars up and launch the bike into the sky. The blazing motorcycle leaves the ground with absolute raw power. I ride the invisible thermal path straight toward the giant beast. The white fire on my skull burns with absolute blinding light. I aim the heavy front wheel directly at its massive dark maw. The giant creature tries to snap its heavy jaws shut right now. My extreme velocity makes me completely unstoppable in this state. The dark motorcycle strikes the target like a heavy hot bullet. I pierce the thick outer flesh without any physical resistance. The sheer kinetic impact creates a massive internal shockwave. I drive the roaring machine straight down its massive long throat. Intense white heat vaporizes the thick internal armor instantly. The dark engine absorbs the raw life force of the giant monster. I steer the heavy bike through the dark biological tunnel now. Massive organs melt away before my absolute destructive presence. The soul combustion system operates at maximum peak efficiency. I reach the central magical core deep inside its massive tail. The heavy front tire crushes the glowing purple organ completely. A massive chain reaction begins inside the dying biological shell. I burst out from the heavy tail section of the falling beast. A colossal explosion of white energy destroys the entire monster. The bright shockwave vaporizes the remaining biological debris. System alert: apex predator entity eliminated and soul harvested. The massive influx of raw mana fills my spiritual gas tank now. My blazing skull burns with a much higher intensity than ever. I land the dark motorcycle heavily on the massive burning crater. The sandy ground shakes with extreme kinetic vibrations again. A rain of white ash falls silently across the ruined desert. I park the roaring chopper right next to the massive impact zone. The living chains detach from my arms and scan the empty area. I draw my heavy steel chain to clear the path moving forward now. This dead dimension holds no more valuable resources for my hunt. I need to find the central dimensional anchor of this world. The heavy front tire points toward a massive floating pyramid. Dark energy pulses from the top of the ancient stone structure. I send a silent mental command to my parked demonic vehicle now. The distant roar of my heavy engine echoes across the empty dunes. I leap through the dusty air and land on the leather saddle fast. The living chains instantly lock my body to the dark machine. I twist the throttle and unleash a deafening sonic shockwave. The heavy rear tire spins and digs into the broken glass floor. I drive the roaring machine straight toward the distant pyramid. The absolute speed creates a massive vacuum in my violent wake. System alert: dimensional breach sequence initiated successfully now. I channel pure soul energy directly into the spinning front tire. A massive rift of white hellfire opens in the empty desert air. I pull the heavy handlebars up and launch the bike into the sky. The blazing motorcycle leaves the ground with absolute raw power. I cross the spatial boundary with extreme rapid physical speed. The dark motorcycle lands heavily on a solid frozen ice surface. A massive glacial wasteland stretches across my entire vision. I engage the heavy gears and prepare for another violent launch. I twist the throttle and embrace the absolute infinite speed.
This video and everything in it are completely fictional and original creations by Welfare. The story is made only for storytelling and entertainment inside the fictional universe. It isn't meant to encourage violence, dangerous actions, or harmful behavior, and nothing in this video should be copied in real life. All characters shown in this work are fictional and are presented as 18 years old or older. This content is made only for entertainment and isn't intended to offend, attack, or harm any person, group, or organization. This channel is more than just entertainment. It's made to share deep ideas, powerful meanings, and valuable insights through stories that make you think and feel in a new way.